Hey everybody, how's it going? Gonna make a little video today. It was actually requested. Um, and then I know I only got 1,000 subscribers or whatever. Uh, Getting some hate messages, people saying that I'm just trying to promote like Autel tools or something like that. Like I got some big conspiracy. But in all reality, I run a pretty successful mobile diagnostic business. And I made a lot of mistakes, bought a lot of tools in the past that I regret. Um, you can easily overspend a lot of money. Some of the tool truck scanners, stuff like that, diagnostic tools that don't work. So what I was gonna do is make a video. I also had a request to make a video to kind of show my van, how it's set up, how I run my operations and stuff like that. So I thought I'd start out here in my little home office I have set up, because a lot of this diagnostics isn't just, or what I do is not just diagnostics. I do a lot of module repairs. Most of my diagnostics and wiring repairs, airbag systems is what I specialize in. It's for dealers. 99% of my work, I don't do a lot for the public. I have some pretty good accounts, some pretty faithful people on this route that I've built, but I'm good at my job. I'm good at what I do, and I know how to figure things out. So it's just as important to have a little setup at home for repairing stuff you might need to bring home with you. Or I also clone modules. I do a lot of GM cluster repairs, the ABS modules, a lot of stuff overall here at the house. And most of it's on the road. I also, as you know, I'm a locksmith, but some cars you can't program them. BMWs, Mercedes, you can't program them on the spot. Well, you can, but you got to take them apart. And sometimes I'll bring the parts home and do it on my desktop, because it's a little more reliable. And definitely any kind of ECU repairs, cloning, or getting information out, it's all done here at the house, and I bring it back to my customers. But what I thought I'd do is maybe just a little walkthrough, like I was asked, on the stuff I do daily, the tools I use, how my van is set up, and I'm going to go ahead and flip this camera around real quick. So give me a second, and I'll be right back. All right, now this first little part, I'm not at any way trying to brag or anything, but I got a couple people that just keep blasting me with messages. I didn't think someone that would have 1,000 subscribers, and then they go on and just trolls, I guess, but saying that there's no money in a diagnostics business, or to do what I do, that I'm just giving people false ideas or whatever they want to say, and just the stuff they send me. But I just closed out my year, and these, as you can see, there's no way I would print these for no reason. I keep a hard copy of everything. This year alone, I'm going to block out my customer information. 797 cars this year. And I got a stack of checks to back it up. So if you actually buy the right tools, apply yourself, it can be a very profitable business. Just learning, how to program and how to help shops and people. There's a huge demand. Just knowing the stuff that nobody else knows, or the stuff that people don't even want to try and attempt themselves, So let me get this stuff out of the way. I'll kind of walk you through the tools I use here on my bench, and then we'll go out to my van, and I'll kind of give you a walkthrough of my tools I use on a daily basis. So give me a second, I'll be right back. All right, quick little walkthrough of what I got here is my bench at home. This is where I do all my repairs. Up top, first thing you're going to need is an 8x8 LED cube and plasma lamp. If you don't have one of those, then your lab's not complete. Actually, this cube I made here was a total test of my patience and soldering skills. Looked like it was fun. Don't ever build one. All right, so what I got up here on the top row, I have a function generator. This one here is it only goes up to, I don't know what it is, it's not important, but a dual channel function generators. Those are handy when you're repairing electronics, because you can send square wave signals, different frequencies through whatever you're fixing, and it helps to test. You know, you can actually drive speedometers with it, stuff like that. Fairly cheap. I think this one was $50. This one here, you can't even buy these anymore. This is an older style. I also do amp repair, like amplifier repair and musical equipment. So if you ever need anything fixed, holler at me. This one here, I got it actually brand new in the box. I think they were like $300. I got it at a thrift store for $10. One of the most important things is a power supply. This one here is a doctor meter. $50, Amazon. This thing's awesome. Goes up to 5 amps, 30 volts. I use that to power up clusters and stuff. This here is just, I built this. It's actually just a carbon filter for when I'm soldering. You can pull it down and it'll actually draw the fumes away, so the old lady doesn't yell at you for making the house smell bad. And then these two are probably my most important. This is like a hot air SND rework station with a soldering iron, and then this one here is the 701A++. It's like one of the cheaper desoldering tools you can buy. I'm dropping my stuff all over the place, but you really need one of these. I've seen more people bring me clusters and stuff they tried to repair at home on their own, and applying too much heat trying to desolder something, they just tear them up. But yeah, if you're going to take apart any kind of electronics, I highly recommend. And then it's also got on the soldering iron a fume extractor on its own, which is very nice. This again, another smaller carbon filter that I built for like $10 on Amazon. And then I have just every kind of solder and copper you can imagine. I like to use the 6337 leaded solder. Whatever you do electrical repairs, because the melting point's so low. I got right here, this is a board holder. You can put the boards in here. Easy to flip them over. And then of course you got to have some basic tools. This right here is a $12 set of magnifying glasses I bought on Amazon. And then some ESD safe, just tweezers and stuff. All that stuff will help you out, like for doing any kind of electronic repair. Then I have my big computer here, of course, AK90 programmer. This right here is a CarProg clone, complete junk. Don't ever plan on doing anything useful with it, but I bought it because it comes with the software. So if you plug this in, the software is actually very helpful on some modules where you want to find where they store all of the information on the modules. It actually has a lot of good information in the program that comes with it. The tool itself doesn't really work very good. That's why I use the GQ4X4, or I use the I think this is it's a slightly cheaper version of the TL866CX. Those are EEPROM microcontroller readers. And then I have a JTAG programmer. I also have, it's not out here right now, but a BDM programmer for European cars. And then I use the AK90 combination of these. And then I have another tool called a Picket, and some adapters here, because sometimes on the clusters you need to pull the chips off, and you're going to want to get the mileage and stuff out of it. Then these are some of the most handy tools you can have, especially if you do get into the part of actually repairing modules. I have one's an LCR meter. If you don't know what it is, I won't go into depth and explain. And the other one is actually a voltmeter. They're awesome. They're tweezers, so when you're working on a board, you can just run through real quick and just diode to diode or resistor. You can find bad components pretty quick. The actual, this is the 57, so that's the multimeter one. It's a full auto ranging multimeter. That one's only about $30. This one here is about $100 for the LCR, but you can actually test capacitors and stuff like that while in circuit while it's running. These are just some little small function generators, actually waveform. I use those sometimes to run some speedometers and stuff like that. This right here is 110 AC current detector. A lot of amplifiers and stuff like that. They actually convert DC back to AC and then AC back to DC. These are pretty awesome. I keep a lot of parts in stock. You can get these pretty cheap on Amazon for doing electronic repairs. This is what you call a sample book, and it's got all the surface mounted resistors. If you work on GM clusters, you know the resistors go bad, causing dead clusters. I keep, you know, a lot of stuff like that in stock, and these are all pretty cheap. You can get these sample books for like $12, and it's got every value you'll ever need. I think I'm probably like $40 into all those. I got just some other stuff, transistors, stuff like that. Airbag modules, sometimes I will clean the crash data out of them, which is where the CarProg kind of comes in handy. That's a whole nother subject. Oscilloscope, you don't necessarily have to have one. I use it for audio, and I also use it for cluster repairs too, basic multimeter. And then we got another tool here. This is these are awesome. This one's another $14, but it's just you can put any kind of component from an electrical circuit. I believe I have right here. It's either a voltage regulator or a MOSFET. But they're awesome. They're cheap. Yeah, and it tells you, shown as a diode, if your components are good. I keep a lot of stepper motors in stock, both, you know, for the GMs, Fords, stuff like that. I try to order, even some of them you can't get new, but you can buy them used on eBay. Good stepper motors for you can just Google common failures in gauge clusters, and you'll get a whole list of stuff. These are awesome. I love these. These are adjustable resistors, different values, but I use these all the time. They work on the GM pass lock. If you find the resistance on a key, if you wanted to add a remote start, you can actually use this, put it in line, and it'll disable the pass lock. Or I use these as airbag dummies all the time. Awesome tool. Find the resistance if you want to test an airbag system without plugging in the airbag first, or sometimes you'll get a squib code and you don't know if it's the actual clock spring connector or airbag that's bad. What I'll do is I just solder a little piece on the end, and then you can actually put a multimeter on this and adjust it to the exact resistance you need. Plug it in place, and it'll actually emulate an airbag. And then I got a couple more multimeters here. But yeah, you can actually emulate an airbag or pretend the airbag's in there, and then you still got the code with the right resistance in the circuit. Then you know that it's actually the airbag is fine and the connector is bad. And then I use these are for in circuit, a couple of connectors here. If you want any specifics on anything that I do or any questions, just let me know. And then this here is I make these all the time. They're just OBD cables for bench testing. And then I have this one labeled here, battery voltage, the can high, can low, or the K line. Stuff like that makes it helpful, especially if you want to bench test a cluster after you repaired it, or any kind of module. Really, I'll fix computers, I'll fix whatever my customers need. But yeah, that's about it for inside. The whole lab, you could probably set up everything I got in here for about $1,200, and I make that, you know, sometimes in a week, just repairing the GM clusters. So not much to it. Power supply, I actually have two, only one's out, but make sure you have a power supply that can put out DC voltage. You don't really necessarily need a function generator. I use one for multiple reasons, mostly for amplifier repairs. Get yourself a good hot air station and a good desoldering tool if you're going to be doing any kind of electronics. Of course, I do have the solder suckers if I'm doing something real quick, or sometimes you can't get everything off with the vacuum desoldering station, so always have a couple of these handy. But a lot of people say EPROMs are but I will tell you, there is a lot of computers and a lot of modules that are still storing data in EPROMs, you know, 8 pins. Volkswagens, when I do a computer swap, I will always just pull the chip on the back on the used ECU, and then you can swap them over or clone the chip, and because we all know you can't get the pin out of the used ECU. So that's about it for inside, but let's go out to the van and I'll show you the real tools and what I use when I'm out on the road. And another thing I will say is laptops. Be prepared to have a lot of laptops. I have about 6 of them. I'll walk you through that, kind of show you why. But you're going to need quite a few laptops. Nothing expensive. I use Toughbooks and I use Lenovo's. They're both awesome. And we'll get to that. So I'm going to go outside and then we'll go through the van and I'll show you what I do on the road day to day. Thanks. Okay, so we're out front here. This is my van. This is what makes me all my money when I'm out on the road. 2007 Chevy Express van's got 260,000 miles on it. As soon as I get my taxes done this year, I think it's time for a new one. I'll probably end up with the same van, but you can't beat it. I mean, it just runs and runs and runs. So let's take a little tour inside and I'll show you how I got it set up. Okay, so doors open. Quick little tour of what I got. First thing I have is a tool cart. I took the wheels off and I mounted down. That's got every hand tool you can imagine. You can never be out on the road and not have what you need, so I've pretty much got all my hand tools, sockets, specialty sockets, everything in one box here that I can lock up. Then back row here, I got a case that I always bring with me, every kind of fuse known to mankind, heat shrink. These are usually all shelved nicely, but for the video, all my butt connectors. And then I got two cases that I always bring with me because you never can have enough. These are all OEM connectors, airbag connectors. This one's used connectors. Anytime I have a chance or an opportunity at a wrecking yard or anything, I will buy some used connectors for airbags or certain ones. The more you do this, the more you realize which ones you need. You know, front end, rear end, cars get hit, connectors break, and insurance companies don't like to buy $4,000 or $5,000 harnesses for a couple of connectors. So the more you can keep in stock and the more popular they are, do it, because that's where you make good money too. You know, you could charge a decent amount, then much rather pay you, you know, $200-300 to change a couple connectors on the front of a harness than to pay $5,000-6,000 to replace the whole harness on some of these newer cars. I just keep some cordless tools, lots of them. You know, I got my one Autel here. I'm gonna bring my laptop bag in a little bit and show you most of my programming tools. It's a good kit to have. It's like a probe kit with some connectors, and then I've added a few other ones in there. You can use your power probe actually too. Just something you can get into connectors with to get some easy readings. And then I keep another one of the hot air soldering stations in the van. I got a pad here in the back. Get yourself one of those because it never fails. You'll go to a body shop and they'll want you to replace a fog light connector on a car that's already been put together, so you spend a lot of time crawling underneath. I got a 1500 watt RV inverter in here, which runs 3 of my key machines. This one's for your standard keys. And then I have the SEC down there, and then I have a cheaper one here I use whenever I just want to do a quick copy. Then I have a big magnifying glass I picked up at a thrift store, which actually swings over because sometimes I'll actually rebuild some clusters right here on the top of my box. On this side's more of a utility shelf. I keep chemicals, specialty tools that I need, fuel line disconnects, parts. I have a box full of light bulbs, O-rings, just stuff you run into that you always find out you need when you don't have it on you. Then I went and bought some Tupperware tubs, and these are full of relays, miscellaneous nuts and bolts, screws, every kind of relay, anything to do with electrical. Lots of rags, because you never know when you need them. WD-40, battery cleaner. A lot of times you run into codes on these new cars, especially just because of bad connections here and there. And then I also have a floor jack. I went to Harbor Freight and bought the aluminum lightweight one so I could hang it in the back. Over here I got a record player I fixed for a friend that I need to drop off, and then I have just an air hose and 2 deep cycles. Then I keep all my key stuff down here. I've got battery chargers too, but down here this is just all full of tumblers and parts from lock cylinders. And I'm sure not all of you are going to do keys, but I'll tell you what, it's easy money. You know, once you get good at it and you can make a key, you can make $100 in 20 minutes, no problem. And there's my OBD1 kit, which you'll never use. And then I also wanted to touch on this little Mac Tools terminal set. Great for taking apart connectors. Another one of those must-haves. Okay, a couple more things I almost forgot. Very important. Get yourself a good jump box. For sure. Not one of them little cheap ones that takes a lithium battery. Get a good, this one here, I way overpaid off a tool truck for it when you can get the exact same one at Walmart for $139. But it's awesome. Sometimes I can't reach with my battery maintainer when I'm programming a car, so I'll throw that on just in case. Just make sure battery don't go dead during a flash. And another tool, I don't know if you have one or not, but this is my favorite tool in my whole box. If you don't have one, get one. They're about 20 bucks. It's a test light. Got a buzzer and an LED on it, but it doesn't need a ground. So when you're checking fuses, it uses your body as a ground. Real fast, awesome tool. One of my favorites. If you don't have one, get one, and you can thank me, because it's terrible having to find a ground spot, hook it up, drag your test light or your power probe around, when you can just put this in your hand, touch any fuse, any circuit you want, and find out if there's voltage there. So that's about it for the van. Not much. Toolbox, you know, some your typical power tools and all that, some key machines, connectors, and a nice little bench to sit on. I got this on Black Friday for I think it was like $14 on sale at Home Depot, but it folds up flat so I can store it away when I'm driving. I can sit on it when I'm making keys, and also if I'm doing any work up high on a car, side airbags on an SUV or anything like that. It's a nice, you know, about 2 foot tall little step stool. And then of course, get yourself a BMW logo, because just makes your van that much cooler. But that's all there is for the inside. Now I'm going to bring my laptop bag and my diagnostic tools inside, and I'll kind of show you what I use to program and my laptop setup, which is probably the most important. And we'll finish up this video. Alright, back in the house, I kind of laid out most of the tools I use day to day. I'm not going to put every tool I have on here. I have a ton more tools, but the whole idea behind this video is to kind of show you what I use, not, you know, a bunch of tools that you might need that you're going to waste a lot of money on. Starts off with, I have a 511 tactical bag that I keep most of these tools all in during the day, and that's kind of my go-to. So right now I'm just showing you the tools that I think are important. I have one of the Silica older SBB key programmers that I got. It's not the clone, even though I heard they work pretty good. Believe it or not, some of the new key machines don't do very well on the older cars. That one seems to work pretty good. Then this tool I use quite often. It's TS501, the TPMS tool. Great tool for cloning sensors. So if you have a wheel speed, not a wheel speed, I'm sorry, but a tire pressure sensor that's bad, you can actually clone it instead of having to go through and program it. I don't use this a whole lot anymore now that I have the IM100, but my favorite feature on this, let me see if I can't get it here. What I use the most is the RF and the RKE portion of it, because I do a lot of keys, and sometimes you get a customer that their remote doesn't work no more. And with this one, you can actually test them. So if you have a key, you know, I use that quite a bit. And I also do it on, sometimes you get some of these aftermarket keys and they don't work, or you can't program the remote. That'll let you know right away if the remote is actually working. Let me shut that down. Okay, and here's my 3 go-tos. I know I've talked about them a million times before, but I have the Autel. I'm actually updating it right now. The 906 BT. And then I have the IM100, which is new to me. It's good for key programming and diagnostics, and the Bosch MasterTech. I have a Drew, a Cardac. I'm not even going to touch on that today because this is what I use the most. And then let me see if I can't find it here somewhere. I was going to show you, real quick, on my Bluetooth adapter for the 906 BT. This came off of a GPS kit I put in. I just made a little adapter, so when I plug it in a car, it's hanging down. The little VCI is so small, it's easy to forget it in a car, and then you're really in trouble. So I put this long adapter on there. I used to have caution tape, but I put that adapter on there just because if you do forget it and a customer gets back in their car, they tend to call you right away when they see something hanging down from their dashboard. Okay, and then the next thing that I would say I use quite a bit is I have a Tough Book, a CF30. I got it partitioned. See if I can't get it here so you can see. And I have all the OEM softwares on separate partitions, all running in their own version of Windows. For GM, I'm not going to go through every one of these, but I have the GM. It's got GDS2 and the Tech 2 Win, which is awesome. And most of these will run off the MasterTech. That's kind of why I'm touching on this. So the Tech 2 Win will run. You don't need the Candy module and all that. It'll run off the Tech or the MasterTech. Technically, the MasterTech and the GM MDI are the exact same tool, just a different color. And the Bosch one will actually be recognized by other OEMs, even though the MDI will too, but it's more of a universal. I have Ford IDS that works too. Chrysler diagnostic system. I don't have the Micropod. Never really needed it. Eventually I might get one, but for diagnosing Chryslers, the Autel does just fine, and you cannot use the MasterTech with that. Honda, the HDS, I have one with immobilizer systems and then the regular one. Working with the MasterTech. Mazda is IDS also. Mitsubishi, don't really use that much at all. Nissan, I have the Consult 3 Plus, which does work with the Bosch MasterTech. You can edit the registry and you have a full Nissan Consult system. I am going to touch on Nissan pretty quick this week here on J2534 programming. Subaru, don't really do much. Haven't even tried with the MasterTech, but the Autel does them just fine. Toyota, TechStream works fine with the MasterTech, along with Otis for Audi and VW. BMW diagnostics, I have, that's what I was going to show you here. I have it's a K plus DCAN cable. I have an ICOM, but I use it only for the most, if I need to do the most system, the optical system. Otherwise I use this tool. I got this one from Germany, 90 bucks I paid for it. There's a lot cheaper ones out there, but this one here, it's been 3 years now I've been using it. I do all my coding for BMWs with it, and it actually came with an adapter. Instead of having to short out the pins on your interface, this does it for you. So you're working on the older E-Series or some of the older BMWs where you would need to short out the pins. You just plug this adapter in and it works just fine. This works with ISTA. It works with the BMW coding tools, which is what I use most of the time anyways. If you need, I can give you a link. Just let me know. JLR works with the Bosch, and then Mercedes, no. I don't really do much with Mercedes. I am ordering a VVDI pretty soon. Volkswagen, same. And then I have the J2534. Basically just has the Toolbox 3. And I've also got all data, the ATSG, on demand, and everything all in one. So if I need to look up wiring diagrams. But I will say that subscription wise, this one here, my Mitchell on demand only goes up to 2015, but I use Identifix. It's a far superior. It's just an amazing program. You know, it's cheaper monthly, and it's awesome. But you can set up a laptop like this is really really helpful. I have another one set up just with technical and repair information. If you guys want, I can make a video and go through each step of what I have on this laptop and show you. But there's quite a bit on here. But the technical, in any time I run into a situation, I like to make notes for future reference, or if I run into problems. For instance, I was trying to flash a TCM on a 2011 Silverado on Friday, and it kept failing over and over. And so I called the AC Delco tech support. Long story short, their catalog was wrong, and it had the wrong TCM in the truck, so it was failing at the very end of the flashing, it was failing the VINIC steps. And so stuff like that, I'll make a note. That way if I ever have trouble, I can go back in. And then I have one laptop here. This is just dedicated to BMW. It has all the new ISTA programs on it, and it has the BMW coding tools because they like to run on their own. And also you run into issues with the COM port and using your cable if you're putting multiple devices on it all the time. And then I have a 10-inch Windows tablet that I use. I have a genuine Rostec, but I also have a couple of the Chinese knockoffs of like the Bag Taco, and then the couple of the K-line tools for VW, which they do work about 60% of the time. And this is one of the ways I used to get the pin codes out or get into the clusters and make some adjustments if I had to. So I have a Windows 10 tablet that I run all the VW stuff that runs with my Rostec cable. And then I have another little Inspiron laptop that it has, I'm not sure what's on this one. I'd have to look. There's certain programs that won't even run on a partition laptop. They have to be on their own. So typically I keep a couple of small ones. And then I have the Rostec. But I keep a couple of little tiny laptops with different versions of Windows. Some are XP only. Everybody's starting to get on board now with the Windows 10. Even though I hate it, I prefer Windows 7 for any kind of programming. And then, like I said, I got a lot of tools. I'm just trying to give you guys a quick walkthrough. The main thing you would really need would be a laptop setup similar to this. These tools get you by almost on a daily basis. And then you have a couple of add-on tools. And I do want to tell you guys, I bought one of these. It's called the Bag Key Login. I've seen a couple videos on YouTube of it actually working to program VW keys and save your money. I've tried 25 different cards. It's never read one pin code or done one key, and I figured, oh, you know, it was only 70 bucks. If it does 20% of the cards, I'll make my money back on it. But definitely not a tool to buy. So yeah, this is what I use. Sorry, hit the 10-minute time limit on my recording. So this is what I use on a daily basis. If you were going to start a mobile diagnostic business, what I would do is I would set up a laptop. I would get either, you don't really need the IM100. You just get a MaxiSys. You're going to need some kind of a pass-through. It's something to do, some TPMS work. And if you want to go into the locksmith side of it, get a couple programmers. I have a really high-dollar token system programmer, which I don't have on me because I went in on it with another guy that does what I do in the Bay Area, and we split it half the time. I only use it when I really need it. But a couple of tools, really. Don't go online and read and start buying all these different interfaces for different OEMs. Just save your money. You know, I've talked to some guys that do what I do, and they run out and they buy a VCM2 for Ford, and then they buy, you know, Honda's interface, and then they're buying the DrewTech individual, you know, one cable for $400 to do HDS, and then one cable for $500. You don't need all that. A MasterTech, you can get these used. They pop up on eBay every once in a while. New, they're $1,600, but people don't buy them for some reason, and I love it. You know, I use it all the time. It's OEM endorsed for Volvo and Honda and every one of them that I can think of. Bosch has actually had it tested through them, and they're approved. You know, unlike the Autel J2534, it may work, but they'll tell you right away that if you call for problems, you know, like every once in a while I'll run into problems. If you call for support and you're in the middle of a flash and it's not on their OE list, they really don't want to help you out. You know, they're going to ask you what interface you're using, and if it's not on their list, they're pretty much going to tell you that you're on your own. I can guarantee you that much. But for some reason, people don't pay a lot for the MasterTech, and it's an absolute amazing tool. It has wireless, so it'll work with the wireless OEMs. And like I said, if I get enough comments or enough people asking for it, I'll go through each individual setup I have on this laptop, and I'll show you how it's set up. But you know, I used Consult 3 the other day to there's 1 year of Nissan Rogue to where the airbag control module comes blank, and you can't actually get the calibrations for it either. And the only way to do it is with consult. The Autel wouldn't do it, and you actually have to go in and read the old information and transfer it over. So that's about it. I'm just trying to show you what it takes to get going in the diagnostic business. But if you have any questions or anything you need or any help or any advice, let me know. Like I said at the beginning of this video, it wasn't I wasn't intended like trying to brag. I know there's a lot of people that make a lot more money than I do. My whole point behind it was, and for some reason I've got a couple of guys that almost on a daily basis send me some hate messages, and I don't know why. I've got 1,000 subscribers, and I make a few videos trying to help people program cars, but they're just saying BS and this and that, and I'm not trying to brag, but it's not hard to make $125,000, $130,000 a year working for yourself, doing programming, and just finding where you fit in and where the specialty is needed. And that's basically what I did. Is I found what people need, and a lot of it's body shops mostly. They have good techs, and they have good mechanics, but they're not equipped to work on every single kind of car that comes through there. And you would be surprised today how many computers, control modules are mounted in the front and the rear of these cars. So, front end impact. I mean, I've seen, the new Priuses have computers, and the new Corvettes in the corners on the bumpers. It's crazy, and they don't know how to program them. And body shops, they don't want to spend the money to tow a car to the dealership when it's all done to have stuff programmed. So that's where guys like me or us, that's where we fit in. Object detection, collision warning systems, they're in the mirrors, they're in the sides of the bumpers, they're in the windshields, they're behind the front grills, they have the distance sensing cruise controls, just lots and lots of computers that are adapting, and that's why we got to have these tools. But I'm trying to show you a cheap route with effective tools, so you don't go out and spend $2,000-$3,000 per manufacturer to try and get yourself started in a business that you can do with a few tools that are made by the right companies. So I won't keep rambling, but there is a lot of money out there in repairing modules and clusters and computers, and like I said, the price of some of these modules, and a GM cluster 03 to 06, 07 is not a matter of if they're going to go out, it's when they all do. And there's just millions of those trucks on the road, and you can fix them. I charge $125. I completely rebuild it with LED bulbs and all new stepper motors, or people can go to the dealer and pay $375 and then another $120 to have the mileage programmed. But there's definitely demand, not in Northern California, just saying, for mobile diagnostics or people that really know how to program and keep these cars on the road. So yeah, thanks for watching, and if there's anything I could help you out with, just leave me a comment or a message. See you later.